Welcome to the Say It Out Loud podcast. I'm your host, Vasavi Kumar. If you're eager to gain clarity, speak with unwavering confidence, and liberate those inner voices, you're in the perfect spot. My mission here is to empower you to break free, find fulfillment, and ignite your passion. You ready? It's time to say it out loud. I've put together a guide of my top 10 tested and proven to work practical strategies and habits to help bright women like you say no, set your boundaries right, live confidently, and build healthy relationships, starting with the relationship you have with yourself. This is a self-paced guide, and I can't wait for you to dig into it so you can start becoming your most confident self, because she's in there waiting for you. Head to the link in my show notes or go to vasavikumar.com/guide and grab it today. Welcome back to another episode of the Say It Out Loud podcast. So I have my return guest. She was on here before, Amanda Bucci. Amanda Bucci, how the hell are you?
I'm so good. I'm so happy to be here with you.
I want my audience to just know a little bit about you. So I'm going to read just briefly from your media kit. I don't usually read, intros because it's like, no one wants to hear that. But the thing is, you're in a season where your book is coming out. You have put all your wisdom that you've acquired and real life experience and work that you've done on yourself and clients into this beautiful book. I'm so excited to dig in today. So I want my audience to know who you are as of today. You are a business consultant, energy and alignment coach, influencer, and founder of the Entrepreneurial Archetype Quiz, which I've taken. Oh my God, love it. But the thing that we are here to have you on to talk about is your new book, Followed, The Content Creator's Guide to Being Seen, Facing Judgment, and Building a Thriving Digital Brand. And Amanda, you can speak personally to this about facing judgment online, which I also got to read about in your book. And I honestly didn't know so much of it until I actually read it. So we're going to get into that. And I just want everyone listening to this that, I have personally hired Amanda. I hired her 2 years ago. So that's like during the pandemic, because I was pivoting. I thought something was wrong with me. I could not find the words to even describe like this new version of myself in my business. And so I hired Amanda for a VIP day. So I respect her and her intelligence and just how smart she is. I mean, she's wicked smart. She's an amazing writer. So here we go. Amanda, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I so appreciate all that. And I've loved both working with you and also being able to maintain our connection throughout the years and support each other and follow each other's journeys and our book journeys together at the same time, which was so fun to be able to talk to you about all that.
Well, one of the reasons why I love you is exactly that a lot of times we pay people to work with us. And then after, if we don't continue working with them, they'll just kind of treat you like, oh, okay, well, you're not paying me anymore. I'm not going to talk to you. And you never once treated me like that. I've had people treat me like that, Amanda, and you didn't. And we would always engage. I'd always comment on your stuff and we'd send voice notes. And that's why I really like you. I like you because you're a really good person. And you treat people. Yes, we built a relationship regardless of any future financial transaction. And I admire you for that. And I respect you for that. Okay. So we're going to get into, there are many chapters in this book. Remind me how many chapters there are again?
12.
Oh, just like mine. Say it out loud. That's right. My also 12 chapters, but I specifically want to get into chapter 7. So chapter 7 is embracing your social media shadow. Okay. One of the stories that you share is that you had never discussed your political views with your audience. You had not shared that you had never voted. And during the time a lot of stuff was going on, especially in 2020 onwards, people were being called forward, right? Like, hey, what is your stance? Do you have an opinion? If not, share it. And you've been very open about being a recovering people pleaser, noticing that about yourself. I too can relate to that. So I would love to just hear your take on this. We can go into the book, but I want to hear you as the author of this book. Like, let's talk about our shadow, what that is, how that shows up and in our personal lives, and most importantly, how it shows up as content creators on social media. So good. Please go ahead.
Yeah. I really love that chapter specifically. And if you have already been a content creator, or even if you're on the beginning stages of your journey of becoming a content creator, there's going to be so many things that you don't share online. And it completely makes sense to keep so many things private and to figure out what elements of myself am I going to really bring to the table here. But one of the biggest struggles I believe content creators face is this weird feeling of, which versions of myself are going to be the most likable, perform the best, create the most success, and which ones are going to cause me the most conflict, are going to be emotionally triggering or challenging if I bring those things to the table. And both consumers and creators really struggle with feeling, less so now, but I believe it's an ongoing process of creators showing up either inauthentically or hiding versions of themselves. And as the creator on the other side of things, you're actively deciding how much of myself is even safe to share. Am I going to get canceled? Am I going to get judged? Are people going to misunderstand me? Are they going to misconstrue what I have to say? Am I going to lose followers because of this? And that is a very real emotional process for content creators. So the story that I shared, I've been creating content online for almost 10 years now, and there have been so many versions of myself that I've kept hidden. And then I found this opportunity to be authentic. And I decided in that moment, it was more effective for me as a content creator to be true and honest. And I had built up enough resilience and understanding to share something that I experienced as vulnerable. And in that moment specifically, so many content creators were navigating and struggling with like, how do I share my political beliefs or my views or my stances and the hills that I am like choosing to stand on or not stand on in such a charged environment. It was a very charged environment, and it still is in many ways, but it was a super important, I believe, shift in the way that we operate in social media culture and in content creator culture and consumer culture, and even just with brands and companies, and figuring out where do I put my money and who do I trust and who has the certain values that align with mine. So in that specific moment for me, I decided, you know what, I have come to this place with my audience, and I have shared vulnerable things across the years, and it felt like a great opportunity for me to be honest with my audience, to share where I was actually at. And it was just my opportunity to like represent my personal experience without lying, but also giving people an opportunity to really see me. And it was both vulnerable, but also super helpful, because I know that a lot of other people had gone through the same thing, either having families that didn't talk about it or coming from a place of privilege where it like wasn't entirely necessary because it wasn't something that was in your orbit necessarily, because there weren't people in your life that were getting directly harmed. And that was my experience growing up. But, as an adult and as a person who is a content creator as well, you have a social responsibility, and you do have a responsibility to what you say, how you say it. There's so many layers to that as well, but it's a cool opportunity for creators to, start to share those things that do live in the shadow. And I'll let you ask other questions, but we can dive into the shadow, because I know this whole podcast will be all about that.
Well, no, I appreciate, I mean, I was honestly, as a voiceover artist, and also as someone who's listening to you, and as a therapist, I'm listening and feeling so many things. I'm appreciating the fluidity in which you're just speaking. I'm like, man, she is a clear fucking channel. That's literally what I was thinking. And you also have a very soothing voice. And then I'm also thinking about what you're saying. I mean, obviously, anytime I read something, I ask myself, how does this apply to me? Right? I'm the reader, and I'm always like, well, how does this apply to me? And I want to get to that. I want to add something to everything you've said. I want my audience listening. First of all, you're going to order this book, number one, because I know all of you listening, if you listen to a podcast called Say It Out Loud, you've got something to say. So I really think it's important that you order. Yeah. I mean, listen, anyone who picks up a book or joins a group called Say It Out Loud, you have some shit that has been suppressed, and it's time to let it out. So Amanda writes about these 3 questions that everyone should ask themselves as a content creator. So Amanda just shared her story. Great. How does this apply to you? Okay. That's why I bring people on here, y'all. It's not to, I put people on pedestals. It's to hear their story and then have it apply to you. And so ask yourself these 3 questions, which is in Amanda's book, by the way. Number 1, write this down. What have I intentionally or unintentionally hidden from social media to protect myself? Number 2, what were my fears, concerns, or worries about sharing? you can even talk about current fears or previous fears, and think about sharing even in your family of origin. What was your experience even sharing in your family of origin? Don't think this shit is not connected, right? If you were shut down in your family, no wonder you don't want to show up on social media. You don't want to be shut down, right? So think about this, and right, Amanda, wouldn't you say? I mean, there's
Yeah,
a connection
absolutely.
there.
Yeah,
Third
direct.
question. Yeah. Third question is, what does it feel like for me to not share this? These are all opportunities to connect back with your body, right? Just your mind might say, yeah, share, and your body may be in terror. I would love to actually ask you about that, Amanda, because you are someone who, and we're going to get back to chapter 7, but you are someone who openly talks about your somatic practices and your nervous system regulation. And I talk about that too. You are, you're way more well read about it. You know what I mean? And you talk about it more. So I'd love for you to just kind of share with my audience, what does that nervous system regulation have to do with shadow work? How can we use both? Why do we need one for the other? Just briefly on that, because I touch upon it here.
Yeah, absolutely. So, in terms of what shadow work actually is, it's the way that I talk about it in the book is a little different from the therapeutic and like psychological understanding of shadow work, just because I apply it to what it's like to be a social media content creator. But shadow work is really understanding and connecting to the suppressed or hidden or de-identified parts of ourselves that we don't feel like we are right now. And those could be positive traits and negative traits. And essentially, as we grow up and as we are children in the world with our caregivers and our parents and our families, we don't have full cognitive functioning of our brain. So we have to, as children, interpret the world through the lens and the level of cognitive functioning that is currently available to us at the time. And that often doesn't include being able to have a compassionate understanding for why my parent yelled at me and like parentified me or shut me down. It often creates this program and belief system that says something along the lines of like, you are too much, or your feelings are making me upset. So as the child, there's so many different ways that we can interpret that information and then create behavioral patterns that last well into our adulthood that can really affect our sense of self. It can affect our emotional experience. It can affect our relationships. It can affect our self-worth, so on and so forth. So the process of shadow work is being able to, essentially the goal is to create a sense of wholeness where you feel like you trust yourself, you know yourself very well and deeply, and you feel confident in who you are as a person by, digging deeper inside of yourself. But it can be very as simple as like asking yourself some of those questions that we just asked in the book. One of my favorite questions for shadow work is, what am I avoiding right now?
Simple.
Super
Powerful.
simple. And then your mind will start to be like, nothing. I'm not avoiding anything. Because ultimately the difficulty, the connection between shadow work and trauma healing and, deconditioning is that the part of our brains and our bodies that is trying to keep us safe and protect us from pain is only one part of us. It's not the entirety of who we are. That's not the part of us that helps us grow. The part of us that helps us grow is the part of us that can feel safe and comfortable in our bodies taking risk. And that is a different part than the part of us that's trying to keep us surviving and in the familiar and in our comfort zones. So we have to build a good relationship with those two. The way that I talk about shadow work and understanding your social media shadow is really this kind of, similar model of the parts of you that are repressed and that you're not sharing or that you're not identifying as, but on social media. So again, social media, we take a part of ourselves that's likable, marketable, valuable to other people, and we put it online, and we create content about that, and we don't have to put everything about ourselves online, obviously. However, it is an incredibly fulfilling process to find ways to feel safe in your body, putting parts of yourself online that feel really authentic to you, to say out loud in front of people the things that you really feel called to say, and find a way to know that there are going to be people that misunderstand me. My family might see this and it might cause conversations with them that I am scared to have, but I know would actually benefit me to have them. People might unfollow me because they don't want to hear about this side of me, whether it's like now I'm pregnant and my followers don't want to hear about my pregnancy, so they unfollow me, or like I'm in a certain type of, open relationship, which is what my experience has been. And like they are really triggered by that, or a lot of people aren't aligned with that, or like, I'm having a spiritual journey, or, I'm coming out as gay or trans or non-binary, or any of those things that are more difficult for people to accept. But it's so important for you to accept those things about yourself. Social media gets to be this meta lesson for owning who you are, because it is kind of like, to me, I think I put it in chapter 7, it's kind of like the final frontier of owning who you are is when you can put it online.
So, okay, I want to, you have a quote that it's just a one-liner, and I was like, damn, there's so much here. Before I get there, I just want to ask you though, it is the final frontier. We're completely aligned with that. But I've been asking myself, because there are a few things, like very strong opinions that I hold really strong. And I wonder, like, oh my God, are all my, people, and I was like, I can't say this. I can say it to my sister. I can say it to my mother. And they won't get offended. They know me. They've heard me talk my whole life, But I'm like, I will never say this out loud on social. And you're right, Amanda. There's like, no, I'm not going to say that, because I ask myself, what is the point? Because here's the thing, right? Where is the line, Amanda, between the final frontier, saying all of our opinions out loud, and am I going to completely fuck with what I've built right now because I decided that I just couldn't keep this in? Like, I'm cool with people not knowing this side. I'm just wondering, what's that fine line?
Yeah, it really is such a personal fine line. I think it's fine for everybody. And the best thing that you can do is go slow. Like, there's no rush to putting these things online. Like, there's this, the way that I see it is kind of like this spectrum. You could just be like, kind of harsh and drastic and impulsive with it. And like, I used to kind of be like that, kind of just like sharing everything, not like a trauma dumping, but definitely like I didn't have really a filter with what I said to people. And it definitely created a lot of emotional distress when, in the early stages, when I was in my early 20s, I was vlogging, I was sharing my life every single day. And there was so much that I shared with people that a lot of my really close friends now, they'll watch back and they're like, wow, I feel like it took me a long time to get to that level of intimacy with you. And you just gave it to all these strangers. And it's such an interesting thing. So I think that, there's the impulsive, share everything, 10 out of 10, no filter, that can obviously create a lot of emotional challenges. And then there's like, I am essentially just a vehicle for the business that I have and the brand that I have. And I don't really share anything. And I share just this very specific lens of value that I'm offering to people. And then I have my personal life in the background and no one really knows about it. Or I'm like even an anonymous account and I have memes or whatever. And both of those are perfectly okay. So it's everyone's own discernment to decide what feels both emotionally safe for you, but also like, do you have support? Do you have a therapist? Do you have friends that believe in you and see you and love you for who you are? Do you have tools to help yourself get grounded in emotionally distressing times when maybe someone's going to challenge you? Like, do you have support and tools to know how to navigate something like that? And what's the ROI for you? What's the value that you're going to get? Sometimes you can ask yourself, like, what am I getting out of sharing this? Like, am I going to feel better because I like made a petty piece of content about someone that, makes me feel like maybe they saw it and like I get to say my piece or whatever. And like, maybe there's a benefit to that. Maybe you get to feel, in a certain type of belonging and community when you're feeling like you don't have anything. And social media can be a great way to do that, especially if you're stressed or if you're struggling with something and you don't have people in your real life. But it's really up to like your own discernment. And I think every content creator really needs to build this muscle for themselves of like, okay, let me take a breath and decide what sharing this is really going to do for me. And how do I want to share it in a way that allows me to be authentic and clear, but is also like not just providing value in the way that your vulnerability has to be valuable to other people, but in a way where you feel grounded in the information you're sharing and you're not like unconsciously trying to get something from other people to help yourself feel okay about the whole thing. Like and sometimes that's okay as well. Like sometimes it's helpful to do stuff like that. And there is yeah, it's like a really fluid line. And it's the reason why it's so personal is because it's really your own self-awareness that will have you know, is this going to be more helpful for me or more harmful for me?
See, ladies and gentlemen, I want to say this is why I love talking to you. You give me what I'm needing in my life with myself is pacing myself, as someone who
Yes.
struggles with a very interesting brain, pacing myself and telling myself it's okay to slow down. We don't have to force intimacy, watch Bridgerton season 2 again. The slow
I am
burn is
rewatching that last night.
dude.
So
The slow burn. I get
girl,
those
I wanted to skip episodes to get to the
No, it is no, dude. The entire tension.
Love tension is my fucking thing. It's so
tension
good.
is only now my thing. I mean, hello. I mean, I used cocaine for a long time. I did not like tension.
Tension is definitely my kink. It's so good.
I'm rewatching it and practicing my breath work. I'm saying like the moment I'm like, breathe through it, Voss. That could be you one day, and I'm like getting into it, So everyone, I'm going to, Amanda doesn't ask me to do this. I'm going to just segue again. I mean, pause to say, please go ahead, pre-order her book. You can find it everywhere. You want to learn from someone that's not telling you how to like what to be. It's more of how to be yourself. You get what I'm saying? Like no one's saying this is who you need to be. It's more of like the process of getting there and allowing that to come out of you. So I always ask myself anytime I post something, because for me, I've had to train my mind to not just have it be about other people, like value for other people. I'm like, well, what about why don't I where's my enjoyment in this? Why am I not getting off on this? What about me? So I ask myself, what's in it for me and what's in it for them? What's the value for me in my growth and my pleasure and expansion? Is this fun for me to say this? Is this liberating for me to say this? And how can I help the person reading too? How can it be a win-win? I'm trying to do that,
Yeah.
So I'm going to go into the one-liner that you said, and I would love for you to please go deeper into this. You said this in your book, chapter 7. Okay, well, I'm afraid to even mess it up, but hold on. I said here, you said here, you don't owe anyone your vulnerability. I'm practicing the pause. Can you tell? I had to pause. I'm practicing because I'm practicing letting that sink in. You don't owe anyone your vulnerability. When I read that made me feel like all those times that I just gave of myself so much to people on social. Let's keep it on social. But of course, I thought about relationships, but that practice was still very active in social. I'm going to give you my heart. I'm going to tell you about how hard it's been. I'm going to tell you my pain. I just need you to feel something. When I read that, I was like, why did I always do that? I really try not to do that anymore. I feel much more mindful and in control of that I don't need to do that. But it was like, why just give away the vulnerability? And I just thought, well, it's easier for me to just give it rather than the possibility of you never giving it to me. So I'm just going to smother you with it.
Yeah.
Like smother you with. Yeah. So go ahead. I'd love to hear from you why you wrote that, where that came from, and how it applies to social.
Yeah. I appreciate that too, because I have had a similar experience to you in terms of just offering it without people really earning it. And, in close, intimate relationships, there's really going to be multiple layers of how close you allow people. And the closer people is determined by how much you can trust them, how safe you feel with them, how safe you feel with yourself, how confident and grounded you feel in yourself. And confidence and groundedness in yourself and self-trust is an ongoing process for everybody. No one feels 100% confident in everything about themselves. We all have different layers and levels of vulnerability. And as a person that has shared a lot of my personal life online, I have learned to go slow in terms of when I share things with people, because again, it is this relationship where it's for me, but it's also for other people. And I think that content creators do have to be a lot more discerning and mindful and careful about what relationship dynamic you're unconsciously creating with your audience.
I would. So what would be a great question for someone to ask themselves if, okay, because this is, I'm sure you get this asked a lot too in your work. It's always like, this is a vulnerable share. This is a vulnerable share. You know, people always say that. This is a really, like, always like anytime someone prefaces it with, this is a vulnerable share, I'm like, I don't know if you should be saying it then. I wonder if you gotta warn me that this is a vulnerable share.
You're like, are you gonna be okay?
Are you gonna? I'm good. Are you?
Right.
So what is the question? No, I mean, I like to have levity around things because this can be heavy, you know. I'm not laughing at anyone. I gotta laugh myself, you know. So anyway, what's a great question that we can ask ourselves before we share, before we want to share a vulnerable share?
Yeah. So the question one of the vulnerable shares I had in the previous years was the first time I posted that I was in a polyamorous relationship. And it took me a while to feel comfortable sharing. And the question that I asked myself was, if and when I get an influx and a flood of negative feedback and people saying things that are potentially harmful, or even the thing that happens is people will say things that are the same questioning thoughts you have in your own mind when you're struggling with something. The mental loops, the thought spirals, the fear-based thoughts, beliefs, and emotions that you'll have in your own mind and your own body when you're going through something difficult and vulnerable. People in the comment section are going to ask those things without any remorse, kind of like those just mean voices in your head. So the question to ask yourself is, can I handle that if and when that happens? And will I be able to, again, support myself through hearing something? Like for me, one of the biggest things was like, I don't know if I'm a polyamorous oriented person yet. I'm figuring it out and I don't have the answers. And, I don't have the answers to every single person's question. And I also am figuring my own life out. But what I do feel very, very confident in is that I am fully choosing this for me. For myself. I'm not being manipulated. I'm not just doing it for John, my husband. I'm not just doing it for social media. I'm doing it for me, and I feel confident in that choice, even if there's still a lot of unknowns. So I had to get myself to the place, because I did have a lot of stress come up, because a lot of people were just saying things that were both like mean and rude, but also just had some critical questions of like non-monogamy in general that I was still grappling with. And I was still figuring out, like, there's so much monogamy programming that I had to decolonize and unpack in my own process. And I didn't have all of the answers already cleanly organized with like good clapbacks and logical rebuttals yet. I wasn't ready for that. But what I was ready for was to say, like, I don't know, but I'm figuring out the answer. And I feel proud of my choice.
Let's take a quick break.
Having been in therapy since the age of 12, I know firsthand just how powerful the process of finding the right therapist is. Going to therapy and talking things out with my therapist has made me happier, clearer, and most importantly, I have a plan for my mental health. I have tools to be able to communicate with others, and also the tools to cope when life gets hard, which it does. So let me ask you a question. Is something interfering with your happiness or preventing you from achieving your goals? Regardless if you have a clinical mental health issue like depression or anxiety, or if you're just a human who lives in this world who is going through a hard time, therapy can give you tools to approach your life in a very different way. And that's why I'm excited to tell you about today's sponsor, BetterHelp. BetterHelp's mission is to make therapy more affordable and more accessible. And this is an important mission because finding a therapist can be really hard, especially when you're limited to the options in your area. BetterHelp is a platform that makes finding a therapist easier because it's online, it's remote, and by filling out a few questions, BetterHelp can match you to a professional therapist in as little as a few days. It's easy to sign up and get matched with the therapist. There's a link in my description. It's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Vasavi. That's BetterHelp.com/Vasavi. Clicking that link helps support this podcast, but it also gets you 10% off your first month of BetterHelp, so you can connect with the therapist and see if it helps you. And because finding a therapist is a little like dating, if you don't really fit with that therapist, which is a common thing with therapy, you can easily switch to a new therapist at no additional cost without stressing stressing out about insurance, who's in your network, or anything like that. I don't know where I would be without the help of therapy and my therapist, but I do know that life would feel that much harder. So if you're struggling, consider online therapy with BetterHelp. Click the link in the description or visit betterhelp.com/Vasavi. Thank you again, BetterHelp, for supporting this podcast.
You know, you're such a great example of someone who grows out loud. And, you know, maybe you did it back in the day. I'm speaking for myself very quickly, and maybe it was felt forced and overshared for whatever psychological reason. And we're not going to unpack the childhood that had us become oversharers. I get it. I'm in a season of practicing my knowledge at this point. I don't need to analyze shit. I got it.
Yeah.
We know why. So, I want to just say thank you for being such an example of growing out loud. I also wanted to let my audience know this. When I first met you and came across, and this is not to say I care about the numbers, but I remember you had 500,000 followers. You had 500,000 followers. And then I still followed you and whatever, but I guess maybe you weren't showing up on my algorithm, whatever. But then your stuff started to show up. And I joined you did a master class and then this, but I noticed your followers had dropped. And I'm I was like, that's a significant number. I noticed things. We all notice things. Come on. And then I was looking at your stuff and I was like, oh shit, she's open about being in this relationship. And I was looking at the comments and people are fucking vile. I had secondhand embarrassment for my fellow human beings having the nuts to ask these questions and say these things. And I had a visceral reaction for you. I was like, oh my God. And I remember thinking, I'm bold, but I don't know if I could deal with this. I can't. And this was a few years ago. I think I am built differently now. I think it's different. Back then you weren't equipped, right? You were figuring it out. But now, so I just want to say to everyone listening to this, if you want a really true, for those of you who are afraid, what if I say the thing and I lose people? You will. You will. Good. It's you will. It's a part of life. Loss is a part of life. The more you become yourself. So just please make sure you're you're ordering this for your friends. Maybe you have a group of coaches that you're working with, or you want to start a little book club. Get this book, right? If you're currently working with your CEO besties and doing whatever, this would be a great book club book. Because you can all share your shit out loud with each other and help each other. So go get followed the book and also follow Amanda.
Thank you.
Okay. So we have these 3 great questions that we've talked about throughout the episode as far as the shadow. What am I avoiding right now? And then number 2, just asking yourself, well, I'm going to put this in, what's in it for me and what's in it for them in terms of thinking before you post basically. And then also with the vulnerability piece, can I handle this? Right. And being honest with yourself around that. I'm trying to think where I want to go next here, because it's we've talked for a while and there's just so much. I'm just, is there anything that's coming up for you?
Yeah. Well, I was going to add just one thing about the losing followers piece. I do have a whole section about that in the book, about just how to navigate that, because loss is such a part of social media. And in your journey of being authentic, it's especially if you have a platform and you plan on having one for more than 2 years, you're going to change as a person. So I even used to have more than 600,000 followers. And over the last 3 or 4 years, I pivoted from fitness, which was very mainstream, very, I wouldn't say surface level, because fitness isn't only surface level, especially anymore, but it didn't include deeper questions that challenged people's norms. It was very agreeable, right? So I believe the more agreeable your brand is in a way, or the more mainstream the things that you talk about are, the easier it's going to be to have a very, very, very big audience. So as I grew as a person, I figured out who I was more, which created this natural niching down process that just pinpointed the specific ways that my gifts are going to be best served in the world for the specific group of people. And I believe that it will keep growing and growing. But the interesting thing about, my following and a lot of other people as well that I've spoken to, especially, if you have a brand that's changed over the years, it looks like I've lost so many more followers than I actually have, because I've gained the ratio has been about losing 1,000 a week. and gaining like 800 or 700 a week.
Yeah.
So it's really like this very natural process that, there's I think it's chapter 9 or 8, and it's the 9 stages of personal branding chapter. And it really talks about like the psychological development of how you can grow as a brand and what that process looks like. And the last stage of it is really like transcending your attachment to the number of followers that you have or like what your brand is supposed to look like, and landing into this extremely easy, authentic connection to your brand where you just are who you are and you trust the people that are going to show up, and you're going to keep growing into yourself and keep building your skills. And there isn't this attempt to fit yourself in a box.
I like the way your words feel in my body.
That's the best thing as a writer and a speaker you could ever tell me.
Can I just have a fucking moment and enjoy the vibration of Amanda Bucci's words? No, I'm being for real, y'all. You are going to notice a shift in me. Hey, this is part of also the work. It's being okay with, hey, maybe I don't want to be fast talking Vasavi all the time. Maybe I just want to, I'm a Taurus, I like luxury and body oils. I'm very sensual. So even this right here is like part of, what you're talking about in your book is allowing yourself to evolve. And being okay with maybe having a dip, but also realizing that the more you are, the you'll get people or like you. It's like, we don't have to lose and then not gain, it's so fluid with it, Amanda. I really do appreciate you so much. And I want to end with how you ended it, because it's beautiful. I got nothing else to say. Beautiful. Except for everyone to please go ahead and pre-order Followed. Go ahead. Let Amanda and I both know that you love this episode. Make sure you tag us both. Let us know that you ordered the book, because that's really important. Can you share more where they can buy the book, all the bonuses, good stuff?
Yes. So you can go to amandabucci.com/followed. And you can grab the book. It's also on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, all the other places. All of the links are on amandabucci.com/followed. Bonuses for pre-ordering if this comes out before June 6th. I have a couple of different online courses and things that I have added for free. My Instagram course is in there for free. I also have a masterclass called Emotional Confidence that I really love and appreciate. It's essentially a 2-hour masterclass that walks you through how to understand how your emotional system works, so you can feel confident in feeling your feelings, navigating through them effectively, and just like knowing how the whole thing works. Especially, it's a very nice thing to have along with social media. And I also have a 10-day mini course in there called Self-Awareness is Your Superpower. So those are some really fun bonuses you can get if you pre-order the book.
And everyone, I'm just saying #Vasavi approved. So, I mean, not for nothing, my word is bond. So I've hired Amanda. I've worked with her. I've read the book. I've followed her for years. She's a wonderful person inside and out. To get the book, get the bonuses, send her a voice note. Let her know how much you love this episode.
I love a voice note.
Yeah, exactly. We love a fellow. I love people who love voice notes. It's like, can I talk, please? Thanks. So anyway, everyone, please go ahead and support. This is really about giving the love and it takes so much to put your work out there. And for those of you who want to be content creators and are content creators and want to be even more of yourself, Amanda's the person to learn from. Okay. So go ahead, go to amandabucci.com/followed. Follow Amanda at Amanda Bucci. Amanda, thank you so much for being here on Say It Out Loud podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, everyone.
If you love today's episode, then say it out loud. Subscribe, leave a review, and come say hi over on Instagram at My Name is Vasavi. Until next time, say it out loud.